All right, everybody. So Bradley is one of the biggest guests that I've scored for my podcast. Very exciting thing. And not everything always goes as great as you want it to. A little bit of technical difficulties caused for not as good of a podcast as we wanted. And we were actually here for like 15 minutes, making sure everything was prepared. And he actually didn't put headphones in, which created an echo. And then in the beginning, it wasn't hooked up, or we had the TV hooked up, we were trying something new and it sounded bad, so we had to restart it. So for like 3 or 4 days, I've been prepping to talk to Bradley. I had a couple of jokes in there. I had a couple of like intelligent questions I was going to ask. And we just did the podcast, and it's definitely did not go as well as I wanted it to go. One, he was a little late, and then we had to restart it because of some technical issues, which flustered me a little bit. And then I basically had to go ahead and start the podcast, and everything I could hear was an echo, and I could barely hear him. So literally for 2 or 3 days, I've been planning this, and I was practicing out my cadences. I was practicing out my questions. And right away off the bat, I got flustered because of restarting it. And then throughout the entire podcast, I couldn't hear him. It was very echoey. And I think he needed to put headphones in. Brad, you needed to put headphones in. And I mean, we've been doing this for 55, 56 episodes. I got Brandon. We got all the technical stuff going on. And in the very beginning, I had a lot of problems with microphones, and it was very frustrating. But we have been smooth sailing with the technology for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And just crazy. You score this opportunity. You scheduled it a while back, and it just did not go as well as I wanted it to. So Bradley, what's going on, man? Welcome to the Sean Lowery Show podcast. And honestly, it's a huge honor to have you on here. I got to say, I've known who you are for about a year, and you're by far like one of my favorite people in the industry. And for anyone who doesn't know, Brad's a sales legend, the CEO of Lightspeed VT, and I know him best from his podcast, Dropping Bombs. So, you ready to drop some bombs on my podcast?
I am. Let's do it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I got a couple questions planned for you, and you can say whatever the fuck you want on here. Like, I know you like to have a conversational flow in your podcast, and it's kind of the same way. So, first thing is, you mind if I crack a beer? It's Friday here. And I usually have it on Friday. All right, cheers. All right, cool. So, first thing I wanted to ask you about was like, obviously within the entrepreneur world, something that people talk about all the time is fear, right? Like, and one of the things that I like that you say is that you have more of a fear of like not going for it than just like sitting around and being average. And dude, I have my own business. I'm doing pretty well. And I have this like fear of being average. Like sometimes I can't fucking sleep at night because I just want something more. And I feel like I don't get to talk to high achievers like too much, someone like you. And I'm seeing if that's something that you've experienced before, something that you felt before. It's just like going for it and the fear of being average. And is that something that motivates you?
Not really. I mean, I don't really care if I'm average because I compare myself to myself.
Okay.
In order for me to be average against self, it means that I'm not doing, kind of what I think I should, because I'll give you a formula here in a minute. I compare myself to myself. So it's almost impossible for me average, because in order to be average, there has to be a group, for example.
Yeah.
So if I were average at golf, practice and get better and improve. So it would not bother me to be average at golf. It would bother me to remain average at golf. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, there does have to be a group like in math for there to be an average.
Yeah. And too many people are comparing themselves. You're losing sleep at night because fear being average, because you're worried about what other people think. You need to start worrying about what you think. Are you feeling average because of it's a, like, are you comparing yourself to others, or are you comparing yourself?
I mean, I think in the past I might have been guilty of comparing myself to others, and I've been working on that. And I think I just
How do you
like,
be against yourself?
uh, I guess I just think I could be doing better. I think I could be doing more, or just like think I shouldn't be
You
going to
can.
sleep right now. There's stuff I can be doing.
You could. I'll see you here. Here, I'll show you. You can. I got something on my desk that says,
Okay.
Look at this. Do this.
Yeah.
What's that say?
I could have done more. I could have done more. Yeah.
Yeah, this
That's,
stays on my desk. This stays on my desk. It's from Schindler's List. He took off his little gold hell, and he basically, was. Have you ever seen Schindler's List?
Not in a while. No, I don't. I can't recall.
They're killing a bunch of Jews, and this guy's saving the Jews, and obviously a Jews got killed. And this guy had a gold pin and took it off and was giving it. And he said, I could have done more. In other words, he saved a bunch of people, but he could have done more, which we always do more. But a good question, man. Why do people fear being rich? And if you do it, I think it's technically a good motivator to where, like, if you fear being average, well, shit, dude. If you're constantly afraid of that, you shouldn't be average, no matter what. But if you guys are trying to kind of be, happy, a lot of people, how to become happy? Well, folks, happiness is a choice. You choose to be happy.
Yeah.
So if you fear being average, I there's something deeper there.
Okay.
What I think, if you fear being average, you fear what people will think if they think you're average. And if you're like, no, it's all about me. Well, then my next question would be, if you being average, who are you comparing yourself to? Average compared to what?
I guess the best version of myself. But yeah, I mean, that's a good way to look at it.
Come on, man. Come on.
All right, cool. All right. So, sales, right? So I used to go door to door. I used to knock on doors. My first job out of college was a sales job. I know kind of the principles, reach out to as many leads. Now I have an e-commerce company, right? I have 15 employees. We've done about 3 million in sales this year so far, and we're growing every year. So it's funny because from a sales perspective, I'm an e-commerce guy. So I'm constantly looking at like my Shopify app, and I'm like, my sales are way different. I've done all these sales this year without making any phone calls. So I'm curious, like, from someone who's an expert salesperson, like, do you think any of the same principles apply to like business to business or people to people sales that might apply to like e-commerce or selling products to like the masses?
Well, yes, only because in both of those cases, or all three of those cases, you're still selling to people, and you're still selling,
right.
The people are not removed just because you're doing it digitally. I think in that case they're all the same, but there's a lot of differences. Obviously, when you're selling online, when COVID hit, people had to go home, work from home, start using the internet, jumping, learning Zoom,
right?
Like we're doing Zoom right now, So, for example, I'm looking at you right now in the eyes. Now, if I know what you're looking at right now, it looks like I'm looking right at you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When in reality, I'm not looking at you, brother. I'm looking at the camera.
Right.
Now, the camera is the new eye. If I'm selling online, I need to focus on the camera. You know what most people do? They look down at the screen. Now, am I looking at you? No, see, because I want to see your face. I want to see your body language. I want to look at you, and now I'm looking at the camera, but just broke eye contact, didn't I?
Right. Yes.
Now, when you meet someone in person, what if someone met you and they wouldn't connect your eyes? They'd be looking away. They'd be looking somewhere else. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, not confident or something's up with them. Why don't they look me in the eye?
80. So again, is it same to me? Yeah, it's the same. You meet someone in person, look them in the fucking eye. Okay. You meet someone online, look in the fucking eye, and guess what? That's the camera. That's the camera.
Am I looking you in the eye right now? I'm looking at you. I got to look at the camera.
You're looking at me, dude. But dude, listen, when I'm on the camera, it's hard. It's hard not to look at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
all right.
I don't blame you, bro. You want to see the glory that is Brad.
The real Bradley. That's right.
Yeah, but reality, dude, all kidding aside, you want to look at the camera while you know, in other words, you see peripherally.
Camera.
It's like right now I can see me and you peripherally. I can't see your face. I couldn't see if you were technically picking your nose. Not. Why? Because I'm right here at the camera.
Right.
Bam.
Right.
You know why?
That's good.
You know why?
Why?
Because the camera is your eyes.
I like that. That's crazy.
Even though we're digital, I'm still looking you in the eye. Why? Because whether you're in person or on camera, that doesn't change.
That's cool.
Look at the motherfucker in the eye.
Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, I've made $3 million in sales this year without having to look one person in the eye, which is e-commerce, which is like
now
crazy.
Imagine if you had, it might have been 6.
Call up and be like, hey, you want to buy like a t-shirt or something like that?
Now, when you say e-commerce, you mean no human content? You're not calling, you're selling digital through
We're
ads?
selling digital. Like, yeah, I run Facebook ads and I try to get, we have a 4% conversion rate, which is pretty good. And like, so we just have to drive people to our website with images and pictures and promotions, and then make sure that the checkout process is good. And like, it's just, I feel like it's sales, but it's just different than like, big B2B sales. So
yeah, I mean, in the case where you're not really talking to people over Zoom or anything, it's just straight e-com. I would say you want to, as much as you can on your copy and your offer.
Right.
Because if I come to your website and everything's disorganized and the copy's bad and the packaging's using, that would be equivalent to babbling in a conversation in person.
Right.
So now I see what your question was.
Yeah.
I would say yeah, they're similar, but I would go with you gotta fine-tune your copy and keep things simple.
Right. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
3 million, bro. You're already, if you're doing 3 million, you're doing something right.
Yeah. I just think it's funny. It's like a little bit of a different skill set with but it's both sales, but it's just like a different skill set. But I still like the kind of sales you do. Like, so I know I've heard you people ask you before about that fight between Grant Cardone and Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. And I've heard you comment on it. You said like maybe Grant was having a bad day, but the one thing that he said in there was like, if someone they have no interest, that's still a level of interest. And like my brother's a salesman, some of my friends that do more sales like you, and I said, what should I ask? The real Brad Lee. They said, when is the right time when someone says no to give up on them? Like, what do you think? In sales like you do, someone says, no, I'm not interested at all. Should you just give up and move on to the next person or keep them in your list?
You should give up when you're convinced that they're not interested, not just because they say they're not interested.
Okay.
People as a defense will say not interested, but the reason they're not interested is my concern. Why aren't they interested? That's the question.
Okay.
And if someone says they're not interested to me, I would say, of course you're not interested. You haven't even heard what I had to say, and I've done a poor job explaining value. Now, I'm not interested. They say it again. I would say, I absolutely understand that, sir, but let me ask you a question. Could I get you interested if this were to happen or something? No. Quit calling. Well, I'm moving on. I'm not going to bother people. I'm in a contest where I have to close everybody in the world because everybody's not closable. Okay, so when someone says to me, not interested, I understood what Grant was saying. That's technically a level of interest because as an absolute no level of interest, they wouldn't even have said they weren't interested. Right. However, in reality, because that's technical, reality, not interested is probably meaning simply not very informed, right?
Okay.
For example, I'm married with kids.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in a relationship, right?
Okay. Right.
So if someone were to try and close me on one, and I said I'm not interested, oh fuck yeah, that means I'm not interested at all. Never will be, no matter what you say. Question is in a sales situation, how will we ever know when it's that cut and dry?
Right.
Well, again, body language, tonality, the history of what we discussed. If I walk up to you and I say, hey, Sean, there's a party coming up, and you go, I'm not interested. Would I just give up? No. Why? Well, because that's a weak salesperson. You see the difference?
Yeah, I understand. I do, and I would be interested to go to the party with you. By the way.
Well, whenever the next party, I'll invite you. My point, Sean, is because
No, I understand.
Yeah, but this is an important one that your listeners want to should understand because the question is, when should you move on? Because in that example, Jordan Belfort was saying, if they're not interested, move on and you get someone else. Because there is a time where you should move on. Don't beg people to see value in your or service.
Especially if you could be selling someone else with that time, right? It's a waste of time.
So you asked when is it time to move on? The time to move on is when you've ruined the relationship. The time to move on is when you're convinced they're not interested. The time to move on is when it crosses the threshold between an interaction and an attack. In other words, when should you move on depends on the situation. Because, for example, what if I buy 1,000 people to talk to and you say you're not interested? I'd move on.
Yeah.
I'd move on instantly. Why?
Right.
I'm not convince you, son. You don't understand. Let's move on. Next. I'm gonna keep your name and I'm gonna come back to you when I get through all the yeses.
Gotcha.
So if I've got so many leads, I don't have time to explain you or get you interested. Well, then technically I'm not a salesperson either. I'm an order taker. So I'd be thumbing through those like a son of a bitch, looking for the yes, which is an order taker. That's not a salesman. So at the end of the day, are you an order taker? Are you a salesperson, or are you a closer? Or what's the difference?
Cool. All right, that's a great answer. That makes perfect sense to me. Who do you think the best sales guy out there is? You?
Definitely. I sell people you to sell. Like I close the dude that got you to close.
I like
I'm
that.
the guy that teaches. I'm the coach of the coaches.
That's pretty cool. I Googled like Bradley net worth. Like, why does nothing come up for that?
Well, there are a few things that come up, but they're incredibly wrong. One of them said I was my net worth was 20 million, and it's not.
Higher, lower? I don't mean to get too personal.
Yeah, but you said that. I didn't. Although it would be lower. It would be lower. Dude, I'm not counting my, you see what I'm saying? When I say net worth, I'm in liquidity.
Right. Okay. So that's a whole different story.
Yeah, but every time I think net worth, I think liquidity. Like I think, what am I worth right now? If I grabbed it. So no, 20 in liquidity. I'm lower than that.
Okay.
Not a lot lower, but lower.
Okay.
But from a net worth, perspective, that most people think about would include my equity, and I say that's low. However, it doesn't matter. And when you Google it, it doesn't come up because I'm not heavily invested in real estate and public stocks, and then that's where they get that information. Or somebody like a publicist has released that information, so it does come up. So it does come up. Yeah. And again, you also notice I don't run around and show Ferraris and jets and watches and I'm not. Hey, look at me. You want to be me? I'm giving you information. Right?
Right.
Because it doesn't matter if I got a Ferrari or I got a jet. It doesn't matter. What matters is what I'm giving you, and I'm not giving you that, and I'm not giving you my Ferrari, am I?
Right.
You know why people flaunt the jets and the Ferraris and the Lambos?
Insecure, maybe. I don't know.
No. They flaunt the jets, the Ferraris, and the Lambos because it attracts the masses. Just like girls. Just like, if I saw myself with girls in bikinis, I'm on private jets, I got the diamond watches, and I'm saying, look at me, I'm cool. I will get far more people follow me. I'll get far more people to pay attention to me. That's just truth.
Okay.
It attracts more attention. The problem is what type of person is impressed because you have a Ferrari or a jet. You should not be impressed because someone has a jet. You should be interested on how they got the jet. That's it. Yeah. Like again, you see me in a private jet. Don't be impressed by the jet, son. Be impressed that I got one. Okay, and then how did I get one?
Right.
Well, guess what? Guess what that's called?
Like fucking
Information.
skill, information.
No,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
called information. Dude, what you want to do is you want to be interested in people's information. And that's why I don't flash the jets and the cars. I'm just dropping information. And information, just plain information, doesn't attract a whole bunch of people, which is why we have 3,000 followers, because nobody. It's not controversial. It's not polarizing. It's just
Right.
dropping the pure information for people to get Jetsons and Ferraris.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like it's funny to think about someone putting their like net worth by a publicist as a way to like kind of do the same thing with a private jet, like pretend like it's bigger than it is.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's funny. That's funny because I do kind of like if I see someone like that, I do kind of like try to do a little research on them to see if they're legitimate. I'm absolutely not impressed if I see a jet or something like that. But then usually I listen to the person. If they're smart, I'm like, all right, this person knows what they're talking about. Like Patrick Bet David, he was on my podcast. We had like an awesome episode, and he's someone who's obviously smart because I've heard him talk about stuff before. On my podcast, he talked about how he went 17 months and he had no sex for 17 months. You think you could ever do that?
Could I would.
No reason.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, could I jump out of an airplane? Well, sure, I could, but I wouldn't. Could I get in the ring and fight the world champion MMA guy? Could. I wouldn't. I could do anything. I literally could do anything. I just wouldn't do those things. I wouldn't do it, but I like Patrick Bet. That dude's a stud.
Yeah.
He's got good experience. I like he explains things. I like his accent. I think he walks the walk.
Yeah.
Or walks the talk. Most people, they don't really do what they say for you to do. They're just saying for you to do it, and because it sells. Patrick's one of the people that do what he says he's going to do and claims that he should as well. Really does it.
Yeah, and that makes a difference. You can just tell that he's legitimate. And he said he had a lot of wet dreams too during those 17 months. So
TMI.
But yeah, on your podcast, like, you ever have any like funny stories from behind the scenes? I know you've had like a lot of awesome guests on, and I don't know if anyone ever asked you that. Like any funny stories from behind the scenes of the Dropping Bombs podcast that no one knows about?
Oh, I mean, all kinds of funny things. But at the end of the day, the other day, Cyrus pulls out his gun, cocks it.
Yeah,
like this.
I saw that actually.
Yeah, and it's clear he doesn't really know how to handle it very well.
You were a little nervous.
I wouldn't say nervous. I'd say concerned.
Okay, right.
Listen, I mean, think about it, dude. What if someone in your studio, they pull out and deep down, maybe they're psychotic and they really don't like you, but they got on your podcast somehow.
Yeah.
Kill you on public media.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say nervous, concerned. Why? Well, because if you know how to handle a weapon, son, you don't pull it out, cock it, go like this. You don't even pull it out, quite frankly. If you know how to handle a weapon, you don't pull it out unless you're going to use it.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to use it, so why pull it out?
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, that guy was interesting.
That's a funny story. And then what people didn't see is afterwards, after the cameras were off, I basically roasted him a new asshole for doing it.
Right.
All kinds of things happen, dude. Dropping bombs is funny. Hang out at the office, and then eventually get on there. A lot of the conversations prior to and after the podcast.
That's cool. Yeah. And like, I love how on your podcast, you talk about sales stuff and entrepreneur stuff, but also you talk about like some current events and like things that are going on, the virus. Like, do you do that just for your personal fun? Do you think it's better for the listeners? Like, do you think you've already said everything you can say about sales and that you just want to talk about other stuff?
No,
okay.
It's not a sales podcast,
okay.
bro.
Okay. Yeah.
Drop
so it's just
bombs.
like,
listen, Dropping Bombs is a podcast where I talk to people and individuals about challenges, situations, issues, whether it's sales, relationships, building a business, conspiracy, issues that I think we'll need to hear. I mean, again, dude, but right now there's child trafficking.
Yeah.
You understand that? You understand that?
I learned about it from listening to your podcast with that Cyrus guy.
Okay, so again, well, why are you talking about child trafficking on a sales podcast? Well, number one, dipshit, it ain't a sales podcast. Number two, it's my podcast, which means, dude, I'm talking to people about shit I want to talk about. Now, what's my motivation? I think people that are listening should think about these things or hear the solutions that we're talking about to see if it applies to them. Why? Dude, I was talking about somebody laying at home, being lazy, growing boobs, and it turned out to get this guy that weighed 4 pounds to lose a lot of weight and his life changed. I talked to somebody yesterday that told me literally they were doing drugs, they were alcoholics, they literally heard my podcast, stopped doing drugs, went back to church, got back with their wives, just got their kids back, yada, yada, yada. So the reason I do it is because I know that the conversations that we're having on that podcast helps people. Who I don't know. Sometimes it might be relevant, sometimes it might not, but it's really more me. See what I'm so
yeah, I love it.
So when I have these podcasts, having these conversations, a lot of people say, "Hey, would you just stop interrupting the guy?" No. Because I'm interrupting, because I'm interested, or I'm thinking as they're talking. It's a real conversation, and I'm not interviewing people.
Right.
Like the only reason you don't interrupt is when you're interviewing someone. See, like for example, I said to you, tell me the 5 books you've read. Now I need to shut up and tell you 5 books, right? I'm not doing that with people. I'm having a conversation. We could start out talking about sales and end up talking about conspiracy.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. There's child traffic going on in the country. You understand?
I mean, I'm just learning about it, and it's crazy to fucking think about that's going on. But
hey, people need to think about it. Why 800,000 children go missing in the United States alone? 800,000 children a year.
Jesus.
Go missing. So what's happening? They say there's child sex rings. Oh, no, there isn't. Oh, yes, there is. Well, pedophilia is a real thing. Child trafficking is a real thing. Human trafficking is a real thing, let alone children.
Who's behind it? Bunch of pedophiles?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bunch of pedophiles.
Okay. Damn, dude. Yeah. Well, we got to obviously fucking stop that. Did you come to a good conclusion about what the next step is to like eliminate that? Just awareness?
Personally, I don't think it's possible to eliminate. Unfortunately, there's going to be evil in the darkness and the shadows, but I think we can speak up. We can be aware of it, put more light on it, so there's more resources focused on.
Yeah.
To get rid of it. But again, to me, children, in my mind, are the ones we want to focus on. Number one, they're number two, they're defenseless, man. They're not able.
It's like the worst thing. It's the worst. Like, what is a worse issue than that? Like, the tax rate moving 5%. That's not as fucking important as child trafficking. Like, it's terrible. Like, it's just crazy, man. Like, that's I literally had never even thought about it till I heard about it on your podcast, and you brought it up again. So yeah.
But I'll bring up conspiracy shit. Like if you heard the Cyrus Parsa, some people might think he's a flat out whack job. Why? Well, because he's talking about shit that no one ever thinks about, let alone believe.
Yeah.
And there's people that well, why would you interview about that? Well, because that's what he's passionate about, and that's what he I'm asking questions based on his beliefs. I seek new information on a regular basis for one reason. I know that if you want to change you got to change what you're doing. And to change what you're doing, you have to change your beliefs. And to change your beliefs, you have to get new information in order to change what you believe. So I seek new information. I'm talking to people about anything, everything, to see if it changes my beliefs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, usually conspiracies, like some of them are interesting. A lot of them end up being like bullshit, but I guess the ones that are real, like the whole Epstein Island or whatever, like that's a
conspiracy. Hey, that was a conspiracy before they caught him.
It's basically true, right?
It's true.
That's crazy.
It's no longer conspiracy. That's what's funny about conspiracy theory. Okay, they label it conspiracy, so people automatically think it's crazy, but in reality, conspiracy does not mean crazy.
Right.
Alexa, define conspiracy.
Conspiracy is usually defined as the act of conspiring, agree together, especially secretly, to do something wrong, evil, or illegal. For more, ask give you more definitions of conspiracy.
Yeah.
See, that doesn't say easy.
Right.
Now, somehow society, I think, have been conditioned to automatically believe that a conspiracy means crazy. It doesn't mean crazy. It means a conspiracy theory is somebody's idea of what possibly could be happening. Somebody's conspiring to do wrong. Well, there's child trafficking. That's not a conspiracy. There is child trafficking. There is evil shit going on secretly. The question is what's true and not true. So when someone says conspiracy theory, you automatically get crazy when in reality, dude, a lot of the conspiracies have been proven to be true, which therefore made it true even if it was a conspiracy.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I guess it just takes a little bit of detective work to just think about it from a smart person like yours perspective that can be like, oh, is this true? Is this not true? You got to like scrape through all the bullshit to find the truth. And that's kind of what you're doing, right?
Well, 9 out of 10, you're never going to find it, Sean.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the truth, man. Do you know
That's
if
right.
Trump's a good president or a bad president?
I mean,
Is he a good president or a bad president? You know the truth. You just have an opinion.
yeah, right. Like I like him, but yeah, I mean, I don't know all the details, right? I just have an opinion.
Sean, nobody knows the truth. That's what's hard about everything nowadays. Where's the truth?
Right.
What is the truth?
Right.
You don't get that.
So I guess the question there would be like, is it worth to even investigate if you know you can't find the truth? Is it worth it?
Good question. And the answer is not really, unless it's an important matter, because guess what? But wants to argue whether Trump's doing bad. The two people arguing are both stupid. Why?
Right.
Because neither of them know for sure. That's why.
Yeah, right. Like I like politics. I like politics, but I try not to get too involved in it or these conspiracy conversations just because what value am I going to add? I mean, I'm not going to add any. So I'd rather focus on like my own life, my own things I can control in my life. And
Focus on the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. I keep doing it. And yeah, like until I can maybe have someone on my podcast that can help or something, like I try not to focus too much if there's no value that I can add to it. And it would be a waste of my time to think about it. But that's
good
cool
man,
stuff.
good man, Sean. That's the right action, man.
Yeah,
Here's what I tell people: don't worry about shit. Just focus on the.
Right, exactly. So I heard you say you want to be president one day.
I said I would love to be president in order to fix problems, but I realize that the president actually doesn't get to fix the problems. So
yeah, if you had a magic wand and you could like make the rest of your life whatever you want it to be, how would you make it turn out?
Well, just a record, you don't need a magic wand like the way you want.
All right, so how's the rest of your life gonna turn out? Because I heard you say you wanted to be a billionaire before. I heard you say you wanted to be president. I love that shit. Like, how's it gonna go?
Yeah, but you didn't say I want to. You heard me say I'm going to.
Boom. All right.
I'm going to be a billionaire. That's a fact. As far as a president, I thought about I might run. I don't know if I will or won't. If I do, it's going to be 4 to 8 years out, and that might change. So we'll see. But as far as how do I want to see the rest of my life go? Ultimately, man, I'm pretty happy with how it's going. I'd just like to see a little less stupidity in the world. I'd like to see, the extremists kind of calm down so we can just kind of all get along and get clear on the rules and everybody abide by them. I'd like to see a flat tax. I'd like to see governors that don't think that charge because they're elected. They're just a representative, just a spokesperson. I'd like to see the Constitution be followed a little more closely. I'd like to see corruption get rooted out, exposed, and eliminated. But as far as like my personal life, dude, I'm about 3 to 5 years away from going fishing and helping people full time.
Going fishing.
And yeah, dude, I like fishing, man.
That's boring.
Boring. That's because you go fishing, I catching.
I never caught a fish in my life, man. I'm sitting there. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm gonna go do something.
That's why it's boring, dude. I'm a fish whisperer. I catch fish when I get.
But like, yeah, for the billionaire thing though, like to get from where you are to there, do you just need to follow your own advice and do more of what you do?
Yeah. I'm just
Okay.
doing more. I mean, you gotta take time out of the equation, try to accelerate things, but at the end of the day, things take time.
Okay. I love it, man. Yeah.
Like, why you only doing 3 million, dude?
I mean, it's gonna get to 5 or 6 by the end of this year. And honestly, the only reason
Why not 12?
well, one of the reasons is probably an excuse, but we've constantly been held back by we have to produce everything because it's personalized items, so we got to get it out the door. And I'm looking to get this 22,000 square foot building by the end of this year. So I'm working on it. But I feel you. But yeah. So like last question, I got one selfish question before I let you go, and I appreciate you coming on. It's just like what made you decide to say yes to coming on my podcast? Was it just did you just say yes to a lot of things? Did you just glance at my Instagram? Like I'm curious, because you're a big guy, I'm up and coming, and curious about that.
Well, again, I mean, like, I like to do podcasts with people because I think eventually it's going to reach somebody. And my whole mission in life is to get the knowledge from the people who have to the people who need it. And I'm included in. I mean, I do have it. So when someone invites me on a podcast, I if I have time, I'll jump on. I also like people that are just starting a podcast because I started my podcast. I had a list of people because they were coming in and out for Lightspeed. A lot of the big names are my clients and or friends. Yeah. So I didn't have a hard time, but a lot of people I talked to started podcasts, the bigger ones said they almost quit because it was difficult to get guests. So I don't want people to quit. I want people to win. So believe it or not, I jump people's podcasts sometimes just to make sure that number one, we're helping people, but number two, the fact that I'm on your podcast will probably get you other people.
Yeah. Hey, that's the truth. And I appreciate that. And and I feel like it drops.
Quite likely to tell you the truth is because I didn't screen it very well. No, I'm just joking.
That's what I was asking. I was wondering if you're like just saying yes, and we were like, oh, this guy. But hey, man, sorry about the sound stuff, but fucking, I really appreciate you coming on. It's so cool to talk to you. And if I ever shoot you a DM or something on Instagram, like you'll recognize me now. Maybe you'll answer me or something.
I will. Hey, how did I get on this podcast? Who'd you DM?
I went on your website and filled out the form and ended up talking to Maria.
Okay.
And
normally people just shoot me a DM. I just assumed you shot me a DM and I said, let's schedule it. Maria scheduled it for me.
No, I think I'm going to try the DM, but then we've learned lately if you go to like people's websites and fill out forms, that's like a different path if the DMs aren't working. So for anyone trying to get guests on your podcast, we've been doing a pretty good job with it. And that was how we got it with you. The form on your website.
Hey, you got Brad Lee.
I got Brad Lee. That is something.
That's something to sell it, bro.
Yeah, I agree. And dude, I'm going to keep following you and watching all your stuff. And I don't know, maybe we'll do this again sometime when I'm bigger.
Dude, let's do it again sometime regardless.
Fair enough. Or when I'm smaller and I'm just on my last podcast before I give up. No, I'm not fucking giving up. I don't care. I'll do better next time without this sound stuff. But dude, I'm the man. I don't care about anything, and it's so cool to talk to you. And I'm not. I care about stuff, but I'm saying I'm not giving up. I've taken so much of your advice that you've said on your podcast and from other smart people, and like put it into myself. And I feel like I'm ready to just take on the world, man. So thank you for doing all you do. And you're the man.
Like, bro. Appreciate you. Peace.
All right. Thank you, man. See you.